Hey now everybody, this is Professor Island, and today we are talking about the grading policy for the Learning Community's English 101 class. When you go on to inglet.org, you will find that there is a link to the class. It is under the on-campus freshman composition courses, and it says English 101, Soc 201, Learning Community. And when you click on that, it'll take you to the website, and if you see various scenes of beaches, you're in the right places. The grading policy between my class and Professor Samoff's class are separated out, and what I'm talking about today is a grading policy for the English 101 class, although there is a bit of crossover, and we'll get to that shortly. If you read this section up here, it gives you a general overview of what the class will entail, but if you scroll down, there's actually a grid here that gives you the individual items that you will need during the course of the class, that you'll need to finish. To begin with, there will be a test at some point during the course of the semester. It'll be somewhere around the middle, and it's worth 20%. It's a 5-paragraph essay. We take it during class. You get 80 minutes. We analyze one story, and we'll get to that when we get to that. There's also a participation grade, and that is established through responses. These are going to be the short 3-paragraph essays that you write in response to the readings that we have, in response to the stories. And when you are in class the very first day, you get 2 things from me. You get the syllabus, which is usually actually handed out by Professor Samoff, and then you also get a list of responses that you can do. I usually give you 7 opportunities or more, 7 or more opportunities to get 5 done for an A in participation by the end of the semester. If you get 3 of them done, you get a B, and if you get 2 of them done, you get a C, and anything less than that, you get a D in participation. Like I said, these are short responses to the readings, and usually it's an analysis like discussing conflict or irony or something like that. There is also a crossover assignment. The crossover assignment entails us watching a movie and analyzing it both for the literary analysis, conflict, irony, symbolism, etc., but also for the sociological analysis, the sociological context of the roles of these various people in the story. And when you go to the website, you will see that there is a crossover assignment page that gives you the parameters of the stuff that not only will be covered in the sociology class aspect of it, but also the fact that you're writing something for me, and essentially that it is going for analyzing the literary aspects of it. And so your essay would be probably either one very long body paragraph with an introduction and a conclusion, or 2 body paragraphs, one of which discusses the literary aspect and one of which discusses the sociological aspect. Ideally, you would actually link the 2 together into that one large body paragraph to show how the author is using, for example, conflict or symbolism to demonstrate the role of somebody who's trying to change their status in society, or somebody who is trying to maintain their status in society. And certainly when we're looking at somebody like Toad, or we're looking at somebody like Milner, we have characters who are clearly dealing with their status, and whether they're trying to change it or maintain it is, of course, part of watching the movie and part of the fun. The crossover assignment is very important for your grade in Professor Samoff's class, and it certainly applies to your grade in my class, and you'll want to pay attention to that. There are also 2 papers for the class. The first paper, paper 1, is going to be on a short story, and it will be analyzing the relative interpretive and escapist analysis of that work, including mostly discussing the characters and whether they're round or flat, and discussing, whether they change or whether they have internal conflict, and also discussing other aspects of conflict for the characters. That's worth 15%. The other paper is a longer paper. It's the final paper, and this is where you discuss a more difficult work, and you also include discussions of symbolism and irony and conflict, etc. But also, as part of this paper, you're also going to do two other assignments. One of them is going to be an annotated works cited. An annotated works cited, if you go over to the not the literary term section, the paper format and test instruction section. The annotated works cited basically is a list of resources that you're going to be using to analyze your paper for your final paper, because it is a research paper. You're not only going to be quoting from the primary source, which is the story, but you're also going to be quoting from resources that you have to look up through EBSCOhost or the Gale Literature Resource Center, which the library staff will explain to you in detail during the course of the class. And what you'll do is you'll find articles that are relevant to your story, and you will give us the reference that's provided by EBSCO or by Gale, and then you'll give us a little blurb about what it is, whether it's about symbolism or it's about irony or it's about biography of the author. And this reference list has to be 10 items, one of which is the story itself, one of which is a biography of the author, and one of which is some kind of contextual thing. So if it's Sonny's Blues, you might mention heroin or racism. If it's Cask of Amontillado, you might mention alcoholism or the Masons. If it's Yellow Wallpaper, you might mention postpartum depression or the rest cure or the role of women in society at the time. And the rest of them will be direct analysis written by master's degree students and PhDs discussing the very things that you're discussing. They'll be talking about symbolism and irony and conflict in your story. So you developed this list for me, and this is something that you turn into me to make sure that you're on the right track and you're finding enough material for your paper. It doesn't mean you need to use all 10 in your paper, but it does demonstrate to me that you've done enough research that you will be able to complete the paper. And by the way, if you do not finish and do not complete this final paper, you do not submit it, you cannot pass the class, because this is the thing that makes this class transfer to Cal State and UC and other schools. So the other thing that you need to do for me is, it's only 5%, but it's important for many people. It's to create an outline. And an outline is basically a structure of your paper. It's not that you're going to write your paper first and then give me an outline. It's more that you figure out what you want to talk about and you organize it on a piece of paper before you actually do all the writing. And again, if you go to the paper format and test instruction stuff, and you go down to outlines, it demonstrates to you, shows you what an outline looks like. And this right here is an outline of a 3-paragraph essay. Here's the introduction, and you'll notice how short it is. There's only two pieces to it. And here's the conclusion, also short, only 2 pieces to that. And I give you samples of English 101 introductions and English 101 conclusions. And you should be looking at that to see how they wrap up the point for a conclusion or how they introduce the point for an introduction, but they do not have any specific detail. They do not give a laundry list of all the literary terms you're going to cover. It just lets me know what you're writing about and where you're going to go. And the body paragraphs then flesh out your argument. And you notice this is a single body paragraph. And you say, wow, that seems to be a lot. Well, the deal is each body paragraph starts off with a topic sentence, which gives me the overall point. And then you give me analysis of how that point is brought up. And so, for example, you might have as a topic sentence that the main character, Montresor in Cask of Amontillado, is using aspects of irony as well as some symbolism to resolve his conflict with Fortunato. And then you might talk about, for example, how what he chose to wear demonstrates his intent to kill Fortunato, and also the fact that he's carrying a trowel with him. You also might point out that several times he actually implores Fortunato to head back, so that later on Fortunato can realize the irony of the situation, that he was basically begged not to go down there, and now he's totally doomed. And then also you talk about, obviously, not only the man versus man conflicts, but also the fact that the catacombs themselves, Montresor's catacombs, being kind of closed in and suffocating, are similar to what Montresor is going to do to Fortunato when he finally kills him. This kind of stuff develops the analysis, and of course, what you're looking for the purposes of turning something into me is not something quite so detailed as this, but you should have a major point for each body paragraph, and you should have a couple of minor points, as well as possibly for your own use, maybe a quotation from the story and even a quotation from a secondary source. Ultimately, you're trying to create an organization so that you're not repeating yourself, and also you're not missing something. What's important to understand here is that I do not want a body paragraph that is just symbolism for that final paper. I do not want a body paragraph that is just conflict for that final paper. What I want you to do is choose something like the setting or one of the characters or even the costumes themselves and discuss the conflict and the symbolism and the irony inherent in that so that you are demonstrating to me that you understand how symbolism and irony and conflict work together rather than giving me a list of all the conflicts and then a list of all the ironies and a list of all the symbols separately. Let's see. Basically, that is your grade in this class. And like I said, you have 3 elements that are associated with the final paper. And then you have one test, you have the first paper, which is shorter, and then you have the crossover, and then you have your responses that you'll be doing throughout the semester. Keep in mind that everything you do for me is written. Everything that you do for me is analysis, literary analysis. I'm not asking for your opinion, and I'm not asking for you to review the work to tell me what's good or what's bad. You're using the literary terms, and you're demonstrating to me, as this is a skills class, you're demonstrating to me that you understand what the literary terms are, how they apply, how to use MLA formatting, and how to use research in the form of a college level, university level research paper. And if you can do all those things, you'll be fine. And if you don't know how to do these things now, you will certainly know them by the end of the semester. Okay? If you have any questions, you can always ask me in class, or you can send me an email at ingletguy@earthlink.net. And until I see you in class, stay in touch.